Yeah, thank you, Esther. I think the first thing to say is that aid obviously has been critical in Africa's development. It has helped in healthcare, in building schools, and many other things that have had a direct impact on Africans' lives. But let's be clear, the shift from aid to trade isn't really new. African leaders have been asking for a shift towards more trade with our Western partners. And therefore, this is really not a wake up call. The real question is whether the world is ready to engage Africa on equal terms. We are sitting on some of the most critical resources for the global green and digital revolution. You've mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of critical minerals on Africa's soil. And these are not just commodities. This is leverage. Africa, a few years ago, established the largest free trade area, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which is a game changer. Um, and the goal is now really to build industries around these resources that add local value, that will shift raw materials from exports to high value products. And you mentioned Malawi. Malawi has, taken a strategic decision to make mining a key pillar of its economic
Right.
strategy, and they've shifted policy to
Ronnie,
add
but
value
the
at the local
question
level.
is, Ronnie, is there goodwill in the first place among African leaders to put their differences aside and say, this is what we have in this country, this is the other mineral we have in this country, or whatever kind of resources they have, that they can put together to put the continent forward without relying on foreign and Western aid for that matter?
I think it's really not just about goodwill here. It's really about pushing it to cross the finish line. The politics in Africa is dynamic and complex, but the economics are straightforward. If we don't come together to collaborate, to create these value chains, to add value to the critical minerals and other resources that Africa has, then we will fail together. That's where AFC FTA comes in. It's no longer just about, shaking hands at summits. Goodwill. We really need to push it down. We need to adjust tariff structures. We need to streamline custom regulations and align policies so that goods can be able to move across the continent. This is where leadership is required now.
Now,
Bold, pragmatic, forward-thinking.
let's look at the young people in Africa, because right now I think a number of presidents are really past some age there. So we have the digital age kids here who know so much stuff that relates to today's, day-to-day activities. So how are they tapping into what these young people can do? Because they understand what's happening right now, and they're looking into the future with more advancing, technology that makes things much better for the continent than has been in the past.
Esther, they're not just looking at the future, they're looking at now. They are actually creating waves with innovation, across the Silicon Savannah. If you look at Rwanda, Nigeria, South Africa, even Kenya, with this youthful population is really pushing to get their place. They understand the AI and automation languages. They are clear about what sustainability focused industries look like. Coding is the new literacy amongst these people. So I think for African governments, what needs to be done is to invest in STEM so that we are ensuring that they have the right knowledge. We are closing the gap between the skills that we're imparting on these young people and what the industry needs. And we are creating that platform for them to move from just having a degree or having skills to being, productive and participative in African economies.